How you doing, everybody? Randy Richards in the shop. So in the last catch-up, I had a little preview there of the mill table clamps I was working on. I got them all done, and that's what this video is going to be, making these little mill table clamps. Now, like I said before, I got the design and stuff. Excuse me. It's from a sketch from Bruce Whitham down in Australia. These aren't my idea. He made a sketch. He had shown some, and he made a sketch for me. Sent it to me. I drew them up, modeled them up, and I posted those on Machining YouTube on Facebook. Those drawings, and these are a little bit different than the drawings I posted. These are a little on the, when I said it's shorter, I think I said that before, but when I meant shorter, it's height. Not shorter this way, but height. Because I wanted it to be really low profile so I could grab a 1/4 inch piece, thick piece right on top of the mill table and fly cut over the top of these clamps. I mean, that's my plan. So I think they're going to work. Anyway, I'm going to show you how to make these, or the steps I did, and I'm going to show you the mistakes I made in making these. Because is definitely a better way than what I did, I think, on some of my steps and the way I proceeded through it. Because I had started anyway. I'll explain it to you in the video, and we'll talk about that. But good project, and I see a very useful tool to have. So thanks a lot for watching, and Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll be seeing you later. Okay, here's the base of the clamps, and I'm just going to show you real quick on this piece here. This piece of 1018 cold rolled. It's 1x2x12, and give you an idea of what I'm going to do here. I made a little production drawing just to so I have all my measurements from a datum, and so it makes it a little faster with the DRO. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have I'll clean up the end first, clean this end up, and then we'll mill away a little bit there, about 188 thousandths wide, down like this, like that. So this all will go away. Then we'll come over here. We'll have approximately 5/8 of an inch. This has to be fairly accurate because it has to fit in the slot. So it's going to be about just a smidge under, maybe 684 is what I've drawn up. We'll just see how that fits. But it has to be fit freely, sliding fit. So that'll be solid in here. Then there's going to be a gap, a little wider than 3/8. So that will go down over like this, so this will be a slot. We'll mill that out, and we'll just keep going like that. Another gap, another mill slot. So we'll mill all that out like that. We'll go all the way down. Then we'll come along and we're going to put in there's a hole with a counter bore. We'll go down and we'll do all the holes, right? So there'll be another slot like that, another hole, all the way down. Do them all at once. I can fit 10 of them on here. And then we have another hole over here. And, well, I'm sorry, yeah. And another hole, and then these are just threaded holes. But we won't thread them yet. We're just going to drill them on through. Because part of this, we're going to mill away part of this down to a depth, right?
So this will all get milled also after we drill it. And that will be down to something like this, like that. Well, here we'll be able to just go all along here, just like that. This whole part. We're going to leave it, but we'll leave enough that we'll end up having to drill. We'll be putting a round hole through them. So we don't want to mill all of this away, but we're going to mill a chunk of it away while it's in the mill. And then we'll be cutting them off, and then that's when we'll put in the holes in. And we'll just do them each one separately, I think. I was going to try to do a bunch at a time, but it really doesn't save me much, really time-wise. And this way I get them nice and straight and everything. I plan on reaming them and everything, so they're real nice holes. And that'll be cut. Part of that will be then we'll have to mill a little more and cut away half of that hole, so we have our radius for our pivot. So we're going to try to do a lot of milling all with this whole piece as one piece in the vise. Actually, I might end up cutting this in half and doing it 2 times, actually, because it's so long. That might be a better way to do it. We'll see here. We'll see how solid this is all ends up being, because we'll be able to grab about 3. We'll have about 300 down here. A little over a quarter, not quite 3/8, but over a quarter, 345 thousandths to grab onto. We have quite a bit of meat there. So anyway, that's a rough idea, rough plan. I already cleaned up the end and the edge, found the end and the back edge. I'm ready to start whittling away at this. Change of plans. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to cut each one of these off and mill these from this other direction. And I can use a bigger cutter. I'll clamp each one in the vise. They all come out the same that way. This just isn't working. I don't like the finish I'm getting, and just not liking it. So, and I don't like cutting slots anyway. So I'm gonna go through and drill all the holes in one whack here, and then I'm gonna bandsaw each one off and go and then mill them. Okay, so I'm set up for the first hole, so I'm going to do all my holes. This is just a spot drill, so we'll do that. This one, first one, they're all both going to get threaded 1/4 28. This one has a counter bore with 3/8, and I'm probably just going to use an M mill to counter bore it. So what I've done is I memorized this. I'm going to go through and spot drill them all and memorize each point, and then I can come back and I'll just use the memorized points to do all my each process as I go along. And I'm going to come over here at 1.215. Okay, all spot drilled, all memorized into the DRO. Now we'll change drills and go back through the pattern again with one drill. I mean, with the number, we're going to drill with a number 2. We're going to make about 65% thread on quarter 28. So we're going to do a number 2 drill on all of them. Then we'll come back and we'll need to tap them. Well, we'll counter bore them and then we'll tap them because the counter bore will take out most of that thread. So we're drilling number 3 hole. We're just going to go along following the DRO. All the positions are memorized. And we'll drill them all the way through all the holes. So you can see we have all the holes drilled for the number 2 hole. Now we're going to counter bore this whole row in the back here, 3/8 end mill, 1/2 inch deep. That's right at what this depth of cut on this end mill is 1/2 inch. So we'll see how this goes. It's a carbide end mill, just a 4 flute. Sharp. I'm just using the DRO on the quill here for my measurement. There we go. Nice flat bottom hole. We're going to use socket head cap screws, so that's just right. Now we just go to the next one and go all the way down. Okay, all the counter bores are done. Now I'm going to go on these holes here, these smaller holes. I'm going to counter bore these 660 thousandths deep. Now I'm going to mill away 650 thousandths. So I'm going to go 660 on the tip and a clearance hole of a quarter inch, and that will give me, maybe even leave me a little countersink already there when we mill away the rest of it above this hole. That way I'm not having to tap the whole hole, because I only want the bottom part tapped. I already zeroed against the surface here, so we're going to go down, and then I'm going to put a set of depth stop on the quill here. All right, we're going to go 690. A little bit deeper, which is fine. Okay, quarter 28. We'll get all the holes tapped now. Last hole. Now we're going to take it out and we're going to lay out some we're gonna take it out. We'll lay out some cut lines and we'll bandsaw each piece off. Okay, so on my way back, after tapping, I countersunk the top chamfer to the top edge of all these holes, and now I took one of the quarter 28 socket cap screws, and I've tested every hole, make sure that it screws in properly. So now we are ready to take it out. I will chamfer all the bottom of these holes where there are some burrs and things like that. So we'll clean those up after we get it out. Okay, so I chamfered all the back holes. I just did that on the drill press. Then I marked off with some red Dykem there where we need to cut, and I scribed the lines. Hard to tell, but there's a scribed line basically halfway between the holes here. Now this is something, when you're using computer drawings and everything, when you're making them, I should say, you got to really be careful sometimes. So I'm going along following my numbers, their baseline number starting at this end and incrementally all the way down the line. So that gives me the total distance from the baseline each time where the cut lines are. Well, one number, I scribed the line, and after I'm looking at it, and then I measured the distance between the lines, and I know what that's supposed to be. Well, one line was off, right about halfway. It didn't look right. So when I checked the drawings, that one dimension, the point that the dimension was taken from came into the next line here, which is where the step is, and it was based on that line, that point, instead of the end point. So I had to go and fix that dimension to get it and get the right dimension. Yeah, sometimes every once in a while you might miss that when the computer you select the point for your dimension to start at, it might jump on you, and sometimes you got to go back and double check things. And so I caught it as I was marking it out, and I used my height gauge here, and starting at the bottom, the base, that's that milled end, and just worked my way up, marking them off. So I have scribed lines now where I need to cut. Now there's plenty of room each side of that, really, for milling and stuff like that. Plenty of room. So we'll go set up the bandsaw and start bandsawing these off. So I cut all the pieces off on the bandsaw. This is the very end piece, so it's a lot wider, maybe 1/4 inch wider than the other ones were. I'm just going to say, be honest here about all this, is that I should not have made them this way. I had hopes there of clamping them in here and being able to slot them and all that, I mentioned. And well, I should have made them with 1-inch square stock. It'd been much easier to do. A lot less milling and such. Anyway, this is the very last one, and I've milled them to be 1-inch square. See, yeah, a lot more work here involved, and centering them over the hole, and that's why you see this gauge pin in here. So I can center the workpiece on the holes. So what I'm going to do is I've already done all the other ones, so accurately, and so now I'm going to show you how I did this one, how I did it, and we're just going to go through it here. So since square, I'm just using the ends. Those are unmachined surfaces, and the bar stock was very, very accurate, actually, within 1/1000. So it was really good. So I'm just using the ends,
and I'm using my little square, one of Stan's squares, and just squaring it up here in the vise, off the on top of the parallel, and getting it. That's good. You know, just using that and just squaring it up. Oh, wrong square for this side, but. That's good. Now I'm going to do is I'm going to machine this. I'm going to first make a cut, get a flat surface. Then I'm going to measure from here to the top of the pin, and I want my end dimension on that measurement will be 0.309. Then I can flip it over and mill it down to the same, do the same on the other side, or I can just measure it on the end for a 1 inch. So I'm just going to come here and touch off. I have a little shield here I hold up, a chip shield. Take a little more. What I'm using is it's a tri-insert face mill, end mill. Works really nice. Really very nice finish. And before I measure it, I make sure there's no standing burr or anything. So I clean all that off. Then I'm using my depth mic on there. Measure the top of the pin. I've already calculated it out. Like I said, it's 0.309 is what we want. So I'm at 376 right now. So 67 needs to come off of that. Take a couple cuts and go down. Should be pretty good. Pretty close, I should say. Should be 16 more roughly, and we are at 26. 17 more. Yeah, if I ever make these again, I'll give it a little bit more thought about this. And I had ideas of one setup doing a lot of work, but that just didn't work out. Okay, we ended up about 8.5 instead of 309, so that'll work out just fine. Now we're gonna flip it over. This is one of those Easy Lap diamond hones. Some of these edges will be already, now some of these are finished edges already, so now at this stage, these back ones and stuff. Now we got a lot to take off there, as you can tell. It should be about like this, right? Okay, we're down. We only need 41 to go. Let's take a couple temper cuts. Another roughing cut, about 30. And then we'll do a finish. Okay, came up 310. Be just fine. So we're going to take that out and deburr it all, get it all cleaned up, deburr it completely. Pop the pin out. Give it a quick measure. Now that could be within 5 thousandths, no sweat, plus or minus that dimension. But I'm probably within 1,000th on it. So that's good. Anyway, so we're gonna clean them up, and we're gonna set up for the next process, and that's gonna be to drill the 1/2-inch hole all the way through. We'll do that to them all, and then we're gonna cut. Then we'll mill away the sides,